What's up, everybody? It is Tuesday morning. Hey, guys. Guy Haberman here. And ahead of the Wednesday NFL schedule reveal, we've got some early Tuesday Niners information. They're going to be playing the Jets on Monday Night Football, Week 1 against Aaron Rodgers. And there's immediate, obvious storylines here, some not obvious storylines, and then really what matters probably to a lot of people. Or actually, what matters to a lot of people is the storylines. What matters to the Niners is what it means for their schedule. And let's start with that. What it means for their schedule fundamentally is that they'll probably be playing. Very likely playing a short week 2. And you'd expect a road game, right? The Niners historically start away from home to get away from the hot weather at Levi Stadium, the sun. And so because they're starting at home week 1, it's got to be a night game. So it's a night game, but it's not a Sunday night game. It's a Monday night game. And so you expect they'll be on the road week 2. So that means a travel week 2 short week, which, on one hand, not ideal. On the other hand, is a little easier to get your short week in early in the year when everybody's still pretty fresh, as opposed to, a late season short week, which, they'll probably have one of those too. But, I don't hate it. Like, I'd be curious from their perspective. You hate a short week whenever you get it. I'd kind of rather have it early in the year when the body's still fresh and, at least coming off a home game. So does that mean that they end up, in Tampa week 2? I don't know. Right. There was some speculation, quite a bit of speculation that maybe the Tampa or the Miami game would be early in the year. Josh Dubow of the Associated Press revealed some stats the other day that actually the Florida teams, Tampa, Jacksonville, and Miami have worse records at home early in the season. The theory was, well, maybe early in the year, it's so humid and hot, they have an advantage over the opponent, but it sounds like it hurts them just as much. Big game, in terms of attention, obviously. No matter what the Jets do, it would be a big game. The Aaron Rodgers return. Aaron Rodgers faces the guy that hurt him, Leonard Floyd. The Niners have him. Brock Purdy faces the guy that hurt him, Hassan Reddick. The Jets have him. So much in terms of relationships here. Robert Saleh, Javon Kinlaw just signed with the Jets. Brock Purdy's college running back, Breece Hall, is the Jets running back. Jeff Ulbrich. I think this is probably not the most obvious, but the most urgent relationship. The Niners, by many accounts, wanted to acquire, and really that's what it was, acquire the Jets defensive coordinator, Jeff Ulbrich, last year to replace Steve Wilkes. They hired Nick Sorensen. Brandon Staley's here. Brandon Staley faced Aaron Rodgers in the playoffs about 4 years ago, and Aaron Rodgers and the Packers put up 30-plus points on the Chargers defense back in 2020. Rodgers threw for almost 300 yards and 2 touchdowns, and the Packers dominated the Rams. So Brandon Staley's assistance with Aaron, that's the last time. The obvious Aaron thing is Aaron's had a ton of big games. I think 10 games against the 49ers, 6 in the regular, 6 wins. No, I think it's 12 or 14. It's a lot. 6 regular season wins, but no postseason wins for Rodgers. 0-4 against the Niners in the playoffs. It's 13. Yeah, 13 total. 6-3 against the Niners in the regular season for Rodgers. 0-4 against the Niners in the postseason. So those are a lot of the personal kind of storylines. But I think the biggest thing is just this guy, Brock Purdy, against Aaron Rodgers. The quarterbacks never face each other, but the quarterbacks facing off is always the biggest storyline. And it's going to be a big test for Nick Sorensen, the Niners' new defensive coordinator. It's a test for the Jets, right? They're trying to work these guys in. They added Mike Williams. They added Malachi Corley. They drafted a tackle with the first pick, Olu Fashanu. They added Tyron Smith from the Cowboys. So they really tried to shore up their offensive line after the Aaron Rodgers opening game injury. last year. But, I think one thing we've talked about a lot, if you're a longtime listener of the show, one thing we talked about for years is you love to get these quarterback matchups because even though they don't play on the field at the same time, you do get to see them side by side, right? You get to see one guy's arm and another guy's arm. You get to see one guy's decisions and another guy's decisions. You get to see one guy's mobility and another guy's mobility. So there's a lot going on here. Niners have the far superior offensive coach. We'll see. It feels like the Jets have the superior defensive coach. The Niners wanted Ulbrich, so they thought highly of him. So that's, you got the offensive coach, head coach who's involved, and the defensive head coach who's not as involved. But Robert Saleh's going to want it. Kyle's going to face 4 of his guys this year. But Aaron, it always comes back to Aaron when the Niners host Aaron, because Aaron wanted to be a Niner. Aaron's from Chico, went to Berkeley, all that stuff, right? So all this stuff, there's just a million great storylines here. And it's one of the Niners' primetime games too. I mean, we talked about this the other day, and we'll get the full reveal later, but now we know for sure. My estimation was there's 11 games that could be among the 5, 6 is the max, but you expect 5. That's what the Niners have played, primetime games. Maybe you leave a little room for some flexed games later. A lot of people have guessed that the Vikings game, the voice is hanging on. The Vikings game, which is a road game, could be a London game with an 8-hour time difference. We'll see about that. Vikings host the London game this year. So do the Bears, but that's a home game for the Niners. Could they end up on Thursday after Thanksgiving against the Cowboys and the Lions? Both those teams will play on Thanksgiving. Maybe one of those teams will play the Niners the following Thanksgiving. We knew the Niners weren't going to play the Chiefs week 1. Ravens got that honor, which is NFL using a fastball early Thursday night football. So you expect that one of these NFC West games will be a primetime game. We've got a primetime game here. I'm just giving an NFC West game a primetime game. As I said the other day, but I won't do the whole schedule prediction thing again, but I could definitely see like Dallas feels like an obvious primetime game. Maybe that ends up in a big Fox window though. Instead, they'd want that game badly. So where would you go on the road after this Jets home game, right? I think you have to expect that Wednesday at 5 when we get the schedule, Niners will be on the road week 2. So where would you go week 2? I mean, none of these are ideal in terms of travel, but there's nothing you can do about it. Green Bay week 2 would be interesting. Feels a little premium. So I'm going to guess at Tampa is week 2. That's just my guess, pure guess. Feels like a good come down after a Jets Monday Night Football game to start the year, but keep Bucks are not going to be in prime time week 2. We know that Chiefs at Bengals is the CBS week 2 game. So we know the Niners can't play Kansas City week 2. Could they put any of these other teams in prime time? Some not any of them, but a lot of them, yes. So that'll be my guess. And this is an awesome week 1. That's an awesome week 1 game. We actually have a lot of the and I want some of you, for those of you watching on the live stream, we'll get to some thoughts there. But I just wanted to show you guys and walk through, for those of you listening to this, what the early, if you're a football fan, your early football schedule has started to come together here. Including college. Now, some of you know I'm a big college football fan too, as a lot of you are. And I'll have some of you ask a lot about what am I doing this college football season after working mostly for the Pac-12 network the last several years. And we'll have some point I'll be able to tell you about that. But there was a game in Dublin this year. It's Florida State, Georgia Tech, fine. But starting at the end of August, the football schedule between the NFL and college is going to get incredible. Okay. August 31st, All right, week 1 of the college football season. Notre Dame at A&M on ABC primetime, college football game day. Clemson at Georgia. Clemson, Georgia in Atlanta, quote unquote, neutral. Miami at Florida. And then NBC's big Saturday night game, Fresno State at Michigan. All right. Then Sunday, September 1, NFL's not playing this Sunday. LSU USC at Allegiant Stadium. Then the next night, Monday night, NFL doesn't play Monday, that September 2nd, Boston College at Florida State. Then the NFL kicks off Thursday with Ravens at Chiefs. Really tough break for the Ravens. Chiefs are really good early in the year. Then that Friday, so the Friday before the first NFL weekend, there's an NBC big Saturday night game on Friday night. Colorado at Nebraska. These teams have played great games recently. Nebraska's got potentially a hot young quarterback, Shedeur Sanders in Colorado. I did the Colorado spring game recently. I won't dive back into that breakdown, but we'll talk about that later. All right, Saturday. So that's Friday night, Colorado, Nebraska. Saturday, Texas at Michigan on Fox's Big Noon. I think we're still waiting for that Sunday night game to find out what the opening Sunday night game is in the NFL. But then we get the Monday night Jets and Niners. Then the following Saturday, we get Alabama at Wisconsin, big noon kickoff. And then that Sunday, the game we know at this point, that Sunday is Chiefs at Bengals, would be a CBS afternoon 1:25 Pacific game. So anyway, I just wanted to share with you guys because the schedule is starting to come together for the early part of college football season, and it's pretty awesome. Fork-tailed Devil asks, LOL, how is Georgia playing a neutral site game in Atlanta? Great question. I mean, Oregon, you may remember Oregon played in that game, played a neutral game against Auburn in the South several years ago. Yeah, it's just the way it works when you're when you're a SEC powerhouse. But I mean, it is LSU USC at Allegiant Stadium is a pretty good game it's a great game for everybody. That's a good game for USC. I mean, I guess the SC equivalent would be that you play that game at SoFi Stadium, which would be cool. Peter asked about the Niners schedule. What about 2 home games to start? You could, but again, the Niners, you generally don't get a home game weeks 1 or week 2 with the Niners because of the heat, and we just determined they are getting a home game at night. Last year the Niners went to the Rams week 2. Oops. I guess you could get that. Wouldn't be the worst thing to play like at Arizona week 2. I wouldn't hate that. It's short week. You got to go road game, but you're going to do it indoors, short travel, same time zone. I think same time. Is it still the same? Yeah, same time zone still then. So I wouldn't hate that. Like go to the Cardinals week 2. That'd be cool. I've seen a few people say this. Tampa and Miami back-to-back road games later in the year. Could be. I mean, the Niners probably have a Greenbrier stay in them somewhere. So that's possible. Tim says, not sure if it's set, but I'd like to see the Niners-Lions Thanksgiving game. That can't happen this year because, it can't happen this year because the Niners-Lions game is a Niners home game this year, is what I'm trying to say. So the Lions need to be at home. So if the Niners are going to play on Thanksgiving, it won't be against Dallas or Detroit because those teams are home. If the Niners had Detroit or Dallas on the road this year, then you could get that game on Thanksgiving. But you're not going to get that game on Thanksgiving this year. I hope we play the Bills early on and face the Florida teams in the winter. Yeah, I mean, if the Niners were playing Sunday at home, then I wouldn't hate a Bills short week road game. You could argue that just because fundamentally, you'd rather play Buffalo early because of the weather, but also the game matters less than an NFC game. Just an AFC game fundamentally matters less in NFC tiebreaker situations than an AFC game would. That you'd rather play like Buffalo short week than say Green Bay week 2. Rather play Miami short week than Green Bay week 2. You could argue that. I mean, I do think these NFC games are kind of prime. One of these NFC road games is a prime candidate week 2. Honestly, the Seattle road game, give me that. That might be my pick. I know we can talk about Buffalo, but the Seattle road game week 2, before it starts getting cold in Seattle and rainy in Seattle, although it's always rainy in Seattle, that's week 2 with Ryan Grubb as the Seahawks OC. So maybe they haven't figured everything out yet. Mike McDaniel, the new head coach, maybe they'll hit their stride later in the year. So I think that would be a vote. I think you'd put that game high on the draft list. Oh yeah, the Eagles, Green Bay. Oh shoot, somebody told me about the correct pronunciation of Sao Paulo. There's no TH in there, is there? Sao Paulo. Second game of the season. Okay, so you can't get Green Bay week 2. That game's out because Green Bay and the Eagles game is week 2 in Barcelona. No, Sao Paulo. Okay, good note. Thank you for that reminder. Trying to keep all these schedules straight. So I think it's an awesome game. I think you'll hear some people go, not ideal to play short week 2, coming off of Monday night to start the year, but you're going to have to do it. Like, you're going to do it again. The Niners will likely play 2 Monday night games, a couple of Sunday night games, and a Thursday night game. That's the expectation. So whatever, like that part is just, there are parts about a schedule that you don't love, that are imperfect. Short weeks are part of them. Get it early in the year. If you can get Seattle, say week 2, I think that's ideal. Dolphins play the Bills week 2. Somebody just put in the chat. Okay. So that knocks 2 games out of the Niners schedule, if that's the case. I know if you're watching this, like not live later in the day, Wednesday, things have evolved as the day has gone along. It will be, we'll talk about some of the big storylines. I know that's not necessarily for this conversation, but we'll get some looks at Brock and OTAs and camp. Is he throwing with more zip? That sort of thing. Everyone's worst nightmare is a person who says, I want Chiefs on Christmas Day in Kansas City. You don't want to play on Christmas Day. Christmas is a Wednesday. You don't want to play on Christmas Day this year. And the game's at home. So 0 for 2 on that one. Ernest asks, Guy, what's good? Can you tell us the origin story of your name and how you got it? I'd love to tell you. There is I'm named after some person. The answer I've always gotten on why my name is Guy is, quote, because I liked it, end quote, from my mom. That's the answer. That's the origin story. Quick movie on the origin story. Will likely play the Chiefs on Sunday night or Monday Night Football. I mean, yeah, you would think. Yes. Yeah. I mean, the one theory I had that this Jets game kind of blows up is that the Niners could play, that the Bears game could be an early season primetime game. The later the season goes, I think the less likely the Bears would be to be in prime time, other than Thursday night. Like you could see, I think, a Bears Thursday night game against the Niners. That's possible. But I did think the Bears could be a candidate for like an early Caleb Williams early season type Monday night game. And obviously that's not the case. Is there any defense in the NFC we should be worried about? Well, you do have good defensive coaches in the NFC West now. I think it'll be very interesting. Mike McDaniel, the thing that Seattle always had was they were tough. They played a certain style of football that matched the 49ers style. And you kind of hoped, I did at least, that Seattle would, hire a coach that maybe might lose that. And they didn't. They hired a coach that will try to keep that in Mike McDaniel. But good question. Probably more a conversation for another conversation. But I'll log that away. I like that. I'll make a note here. I like that question. Gain. Thank you. Brock can skirt Will at any defense in the NFC. The defenses in the AFC are the problem. Well, that was the problem last year. And I think that, the Jets are going to come with a lot of motivation, as you always do. Robert Saleh, though, Jeff Ulbrich. Maybe the Niners softened Jeff Ulbrich up by telling him how much they loved him. But, I would imagine right now Kyle Shanahan's ready to get to work on Jeff Ulbrich and Robert Saleh and the Jets. A lot of familiarity between the two. So I would imagine both of them will try to do a thing or two, to surprise the other, disrupt the other. Thomas says, I'm expecting a Super Bowl hangover. Losing the NFC Championship game galvanized them. Losing the Super Bowl because your offense isn't good enough is depressing. Finally, Dre Greenlaw is all bad. Losing Dre Greenlaw is all bad. No Dre Greenlaw is all bad. Do you get a Super Bowl hangover season? Always possible. I'd be a little surprised if you get a Super Bowl hangover game one. This actually brings up an interesting point I hadn't thought about. If you're worried about hangovers, putting a team on prime time to start the year against Aaron Rodgers and the Jets is a pretty good antidote. This is your hair on the dog game. Is that what it is? You hung over, so you open Sunday with a Coors Light, a little Bloody Mary. If you're worried about a hangover, this is a Bloody Mary. The Jets, Rodgers, Saleh, like for the players who know Robert Saleh, right? This is a big deal. And Monday Night Football, big deal. Bright lights, big deal. So I think there's a lot here that, that can motivate a team. Now you got to keep it going. Being hyped for one game isn't a whole season, but I think this is a pretty good way to start the year. So I like it. Not worried about the short week. That's the summary of it. And looking forward to it. All right. I'm sure we'll get a few more of these games pop out because the Niners will play on so many prime time slots that I'd imagine we see a few more of these Tuesday or maybe Wednesday, and the full schedule release Wednesday. And I'll be live on YouTube with a lot of that. Is Aaron Rodgers any good? That's the other thing I didn't talk about here. Can Aaron Rodgers play? Can he move? Does he have anything left? So maybe a big game for the Niners pass rush, really. Like is Nick Bosa going to come out and get 2 sacks to start the year? Is he going to be facing a rookie tackle? Is he going to come out and just, oh my God, remember Bosa's late, slow start last year? Is he going to get after Aaron Rodgers immediately? That's one of the big, the national story coming out in this game, right? Does Aaron Rodgers have any juice left in the tank, in his juice tank? Yeah. All right. Here we go. Schedule, football season. I feel like we're back in it. If you're watching on YouTube, great. Hit that like button. Thank you. Subscribe to the channel. Thank you. That kind of makes you a sponsor. Share it with somebody. Thank you. And talk to everybody soon.